Well, in a story that feels like it's right out of the 1890s, for the past month, the police in Portsmouth, Virginia, have been launching what appears to be a coup against the city's black elected officials. Yes, that's right. You heard me correctly, a coup. Police in Portsmouth, which is in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia near the Atlantic Ocean, are using what appears to be totally fabricated charges in order to put a black state senator and the deputy mayor in jail, along with the local NAACP head and some public defenders. And on top of all that, they're also trying to prevent the Commonwealth's attorney, who is also black, from trying these cases. And on top of that, the police have charged over a dozen other people. Now, this all goes back to the issue of Confederate statues, and it's connected to a protest this past June where 4 Confederate statues lost their heads. Almost everyone in this saga is charged with a felony or conspiracy to commit a felony that is linked to a 70-year-old statute in the state that makes it a crime to injure a Confederate statue. Honestly, it's hard to know where to even start with this one, but here we go. On June 10th, there was a protest around Confederate statues in Portsmouth. Many people opposed to racism, including well-known State Senator Louise Lucas, were at this protest. At the protest, some people spray painted the statue, but that's pretty much it. Later that evening, some protesters came back and removed the heads of the statues. Senator Lucas was not there when the heads of the statues were removed. Then, a few weeks ago, Portsmouth Police Chief Angela Green shockingly unveiled felony injury and conspiracy charges against Lucas and 13 other people, including, in addition to those we mentioned earlier, several school board members. Now, while some people who were charged were present at the daytime rally, it isn't clear that any of them were even there when the statues themselves were taken down. So it seems that the case being made here by police is that just being against Confederate statues and being present at rallies where they are being denounced makes you part of a criminal conspiracy to injure said monuments if someone else takes them down. Now, following this, the vice mayor of Portsmouth, who is also a black woman, then criticized the police chief and is now being charged with an obscure crime of interfering in the affairs of appointments or removals. Now, how do the police even have the power to do these sorts of things? Well, Virginia has a system of prosecution known as the magistrate system. And in that system, the police bring charges to judges who then sign off if they think it meets the threshold, then a prosecutor takes the case. However, to drop the case, a judge has to agree. Regular citizens can also use this process to file charges against anyone, in fact, as long as they can get a judge to agree. And that is, in fact, how the vice mayor was brought up on these charges by just some random right-winger. Now, normally the charges brought in this way would be adjudicated by the Commonwealth's attorney, similar to a district attorney in many areas. And in this case, that's Stephanie Morales. Morales is also a black woman. However, she also is hated by the police. And it turns out that they put her on the arrest warrants as a witness to create a conflict of interest so that she could not try the cases and undoubtedly dismiss many of them. Now, I know at this point you have to be asking yourself, what in the hell is going on here? This is 2020. Well, what is going on here? We're going to tell you. As alluded to earlier, the police in Portsmouth have a very long history of ugly racism, and they are using the issue of Confederate statues and every obscure law they can find, no matter how old it is, to try to take down the city's black leadership. And it's notable that this black leadership is not known as terribly left-wing or liberal. So it seems they are being attacked just on account of the possibility that they would be more responsive to something other than a racist pro-cop agenda, which of course is unacceptable to the police. And it won't surprise you that the Portsmouth police have a history of shady police murders, and also that numerous officers have gone to the press to report that officers regularly use the N-word towards suspects, among other things. The city manager of Portsmouth was so concerned that she even went to the FBI to try to report the police department for being a bastion of white supremacy, but the FBI, it seems, didn't take the claim seriously. A former police chief noted that there is a racist and brutal culture inside the department, and she was ultimately actually forced out by a campaign that appears to have originated with the city's Fraternal Order of Police. And many are now drawing the obvious conclusions that it is the FOP that is not only the real major power behind the throne here in the city, but also behind these current coup moves. And in fact, the same sergeant who was key to pushing out the last police chief is also the person who filed the charges against State Senator Lucas. Now, the Virginia State Supreme Court has taken over some aspects of the case and is said to be appointing a neutral, whatever that means, judge to oversee the cases. State Senator Lucas has filed a multi-million-dollar defamation suit in response to the charges against her. But what the case of Portsmouth points to more than anything else is the revolting truth that in 2020, a police department and their racist community supporters can use Jim Crow-era laws to mount a coup against elected officials just because they are black and even slightly opposed to their racist policing agenda. It's no wonder that this mass movement against racism has taken aim at the unchecked power and completely unaccountable character of police agencies, police departments, and police unions, so-called at least, saying that until they are reined in, defunded, and ultimately replaced, there will be no justice.